So every Monday is an opportunity for us to motivate one another. And of course, we need to know what to do about this year, 2018. Now, Stephen Omojigbe has been coming to give us some inspiration every single Monday since the beginning of the year. And this morning, we're going to be talking about how to protect our greatest asset. I like that topic.
Yeah.
And, you know, talking about greatest assets, it could mean different things to different people.
Yes.
For a family man, the greatest asset could be his children. You could say, oh, these are the people, these are the kids that I'm molding.
Yes.
For somebody who's very rich, his greatest assets can be his money in the bank. And of course, for someone who's very religious, he'll tell you, a Christian will tell you, my greatest asset is Jesus Christ. How do you determine what your greatest asset is in life?
So I think for every human being, we all have one big asset that kinds of allows us to live a life of fulfillment, a life of greatness, a life of joy. So there are two big assets we've all been given as human beings. We've been given a head. By that I mean the capacity to reason, to be intellectual, to be logical, to think through stuff. Then we've been given a heart, the capacity to feel, to empathize, to have courage, to feel love, to feel joy. Now, computers do have a head. They have a brain. They can think. They can be logical. But they don't have a heart. It is only human beings that do have a heart. And guess what? The most beautiful things in this world, things like love, things like courage, things like creativity, things like adventure, all of those things are heart things. So the greatest asset a human being has is his heart. And if you don't know how to love your heart, how to protect it, how to care for it, you're not going to have the kind of joy and the kind of life, the kind of fulfillment you're supposed to have. So our greatest asset, all of us, is our heart. And the capacity to protect it, to care for it, is what allows us to live a life of deep joy.
All right, I like that. Now, but you know, when you talk about your heart being the greatest asset, a lot of the things that come out of your heart are based on your experiences. So, for instance, maybe you grew up in a very violent environment, or you know your background is very poor, so that affects your own mental attitude to the world. So, how do you then have a good heart? Let's even start from there.
It's an interesting question. So, because a lot of people walking around this world with wounded hearts. Some have even abandoned their hearts. Some, their hearts are broken in several places. And so it's hard for them to detect what their calling is in life, what their purpose is. It's hard for them to have joy. You see them, they're walking around the world, they're like sleepwalking through life because there's no life, there's no passion, there's no joy. And so it's important that you pursue the healing of your heart and finding wholeness. If you've gone through trauma, trauma does not leave you the same. It impacts your heart. It impacts your ability to experience the world. It impacts your marriage. So if you come into a marriage with a broken heart, I say it every time, people who have whole hearts, they struggle in marriage because marriage is hard. And then imagine coming into marriage with a broken heart. You have no chance.
That's even worse.
Yes. So it's like coming to the 100 meters final of the Olympic Games, and you have all these very fast guys there, and then you come with a limp. You have no chance of winning. So the heart is central to everything in this world. And that's why you guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. As a man thinketh in his heart, so easy. So the heart is very central. And so if you have a broken heart, if you have a wounded heart, maybe because you came from a dysfunctional home and you experienced some abuse, maybe it is verbal, maybe it's physical, emotional, even sexual, and that has impacted your heart, you cannot abandon your heart, which is what most people try to do. They try to forget about living from the heart. So they want to live from the head.
Yeah, because you know, sometimes you feel like that's the way to protect myself. So someone has been hurt several times or disappointed several times because they had a good heart towards something, or they were too trusting and things like that. And so when you've experienced some of these things, one time too many, you then begin to protect yourself. And sometimes you can even then have a hard heart. So no matter who comes to you crying and weeping, asking you for help, you don't want to help because you know that every single time you've helped someone, something has happened. So how do you then create a balance?
So what kind of life do you get if you live a heartless life? What kind of life do you get when you shut your heart down? And that's what I really want to talk about. How do you protect your heart against certain things? One of the most important things to protect our hearts against in 2019 is discouragement. People need to know that of a necessity, the way the world is designed, you're going to get through a lot of no's before you get the one big yes. So I was reading a story the other day about Walt Disney when he was trying to build the Disney World. And he had to write 249 proposals for funding that were rejected by people who said, no, this is not going to work. It was the 250th proposal that he wrote for funding that got funded.
250 proposals.
250 proposals.
Wow.
So think about him stopping at 249. So if you're out there, one of the things you must guard your heart against in 2019 is discouragement. No does not mean that you're failed. You have to keep going. You necessarily have to go through a lot of no's sometimes. Maybe sometimes it's love you're looking for. If you have a couple of girls out and they say no, maybe it's a job. You've written a couple of applications and you got no. Maybe it's a business. You're trying to get customers and you've written proposals of funding and you got no. You have to keep going. You must not allow discouragement to hold your heart down because, like I said, creativity, passion, all of those things come from your heart. And you cannot live a heartless life. Another big thing to guard our hearts against this year is resentment and bitterness. So life is not fair. And sometimes things are going to happen to you. The failure of people are going to impact you. The problems that people have, their own bad behaviors are going to affect you sometimes. And it's important you don't take that to heart. It's important you don't hold on to them. It's important that you don't get into a place of bitterness and a place of resentment. You don't want to get into a place where you're bitter against God, where you think God is against you. You don't want to get into a place where you think life is against you. You don't want to get bitter against yourself, where you think, I'm just crap, I'm just shitty because you made some mistakes. You must guard your heart against all those things. And how you do it is by learning to constantly breathe. Like, now that's metaphorical. Constantly breathe, like exhale, let it out. Don't keep it inside. Imagine holding your breath, trying to keep the carbon dioxide inside. It's going to kill you. So we have all learned to breathe. Life will bring some bad things to you. No one can be immune from it. There's no amount of motivation, there's no amount of spirituality that can immune you from the bad parts of life. You're going to get it. Everyone gets it. But the important thing is not that you're scored against. The important thing is that at the end of the match, you win. So it could be 17-6, it could be 1-0. I mean, it could be 4-3. The important thing is that you win. And if you keep going, if you don't take disappointment so hard, if you don't take the failures, if you don't take the rejection of people, if you don't take it to heart, the heart of the human being is so powerful. It will win at the end of the day. It's so resilient. It doesn't matter what you go through. If you don't stop, you're going to win at the end of the day.
Wow, Stephen Omojibe, thank you so much for this deep conversation that we're having this Monday morning. Heart matters, and that is the most important thing to you. Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I know that there are people who are watching right now and they're saying, I'm going to guard my heart with all diligence, like you said. That's one of the things that you quoted for us this morning. So that's a good one. And there's going to be more after this break on Wake Up Nigeria.